Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television, Channel 14. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. We're at the Ellis County Extension Office, South Main in Hayes, with Ellis County Extension Agricultural Agent Stacy Campbell. Wanted to visit about agriculture in general and specifically with Stacy about some wheat yield results which have been published here in the last couple of months. Stacy, talk about the wheat yield results as to first of all, who participated in this and how this works?
Okay, yeah, Mike. Every year I try to put out what I call just a county wheat plot or wheat variety test plot. And actually it's been in the same area for a number of years now. It's up north of Victoria. L&N Farming, which is Leon and Norbert Kuhn, have been very good to work with, and that's who we've put it out with for a number of years now. And basically, you know, we plant it just like any farmer would at about the same time with their planter and tractor and just however they've kind of plant and treat their whole wheat field is how we do this variety plot, and we just put these varieties in side by side in the farmer's field. They are in strips that may not go all the way through the field because of maybe because of terraces or just the amount of seed that we can get, but we try to make them as big as we can, and then they'll plant the rest of their wheat around it.
And you plant these in rows then using the different varieties for comparison purposes.
Right. We, you know, it's a little time consuming because we'll dump seed in of a particular variety, you know, when we start, and we'll usually run down and back, and then we have to vacuum out the planter and try to get every bit of seed out that we can, and then we dump the next variety and do the same and keep going till we're done.
Now the Extension Office takes care of this particular area, but you also get input from some others, right, Stacy?
Yeah, definitely. Most county agents, especially, you know, where wheat is one of the major crops, will put out a wheat variety plot, and you know, we do kind of email back and forth and try to look at the other counties' wheat test plots. And then, of course, we've got the experiment stations that we also can look at and refer to as well.
You've had a real good relationship on this wheat plot results with the Ag Research Center over the years, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I mean, they do a great job out here, and of course there's a wheat breeder here, and so they usually have, I think anymore, they have a wheat field day every other year, and kind of showcase what they're doing. But very active, wheat performance test out here at Hayes. They also have them in Garden City, Colby, and Tribune. Those are the other Western Kansas Experiment Station sites. Also, they've got a cooperator in Dodge City, Pawnee County, Larned County, and I think maybe even another location or two that I'm not thinking of. So in the western half of the state, they try to, you know, get quite a bit of varieties out there. And
by and large, most of the ag agents in the counties also have their own wheat plot
area. Most of them do.
Number of varieties that are included in your tests, Stacy?
I think I had about 14 or 16 this year. I try not to get over about that 15 or 16, and just try to select the varieties that look like they've got you know, good adaptation for this area and good possible yield potential.
And you use some standard varieties as well as incorporating maybe some new varieties that have come on the scene.
Yeah, what I like to do, Mike, is when I do choose a new variety to put in, I try to put it in for at least 2 years to give it a chance to get an average, you know, because there is variability in any field. So, you know, it may be in a part of the field maybe where the soil's not quite as good. So I like to have one in for at least 2 years, if not more. And yeah, there's some varieties that we know have been performing well that we'll continue to put in for several years. Eventually, usually a variety, though, kind of runs its course, and yeah, we're always putting in a few new ones.
Well, and you have to take into account the variabilities of the conditions from year to year, too, to make some kind of an average, don't you?
Yeah, and that brings up a real good point. Every year, as farmers know, is different. So you can't always go out and kind of chase the newest variety that did well this year because there may have been some unusual circumstances, conditions with the weather and stuff that maybe where that variety performed better than it normally would out here. You know, you kind of look at, I guess, the long-term consistency performance of a variety. The
test results have been published now, and you have those available for the farmers who want to see the results, right, Stacy?
Right. Yeah, Mike, the experiment station results have came out in their annual book that they put out. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of it here, and those can be picked up in the extension office.
That's what it looks like then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
They can be picked up in the extension office, and also you can get them online.
All right. And you've got your own results published now here at the Extension Office, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And this is the 2012 Kansas Wheat Seed Book from the Ag Research Centers. Stacy, talk about any surprising results that you've seen from this.
Well, I guess in my plot, maybe there wasn't too many surprises, but here in a minute we'll go into the experiment station plots. Of course, theirs is more extensive. They put a lot more varieties in, and there's a few in there that are some varieties that guys might kind of, some newer ones, I guess, if you will, that have done well and that they might look at. But in my county plot, Winter Hawk was one of them that has been performing well, not just this year, but in past years. TAM 112 was one of the highest yielding ones. There's been some years where it's probably been below average in my plot, but I think too maybe it was not always in the best, maybe a little lower quality soil. So TAM 112 has been a good variety in the plot this year. Armor, Hatcher's a Colorado State variety that may not necessarily be adapted for this far east, although it has good drought tolerance and it's done well. T158 is kind of a newer variety and it's done well the last 2 years. And then Post Rock is a variety that's been out for a while and it's still not a racehorse at the very top, but it's consistent, it's above the average.
Now, of course, bushel yield is very important, but there are other factors that you also weigh in on this with drought tolerance and insect resistance, things like that, right?
Exactly, and farmers, something that they seem to really look at and is important to them is test weight. In other words, the weight of each kernel, and you know, technically if the test weight's a little higher, I mean, you can be hauling more pounds to the more pounds of wheat to the elevator, so that's important. This year, for the most part, test weights were real strong all the way across the board. You know.
All right, talk about the Agricultural Research Center then and their results.
Yeah, Winter Hawk was another one at the experiment stations, and this would be kind of the western half, the western Kansas experiment stations that we mentioned. Hayes, Colby, Tribune, those Winter Hawk did well. T158 has performed well. Post Rock, like I say, is been above the average. Even Everest is a KSU variety that really isn't adapted for the western half of the state, but it seems to keep doing pretty well, at least in this central part of west central part of Kansas. One that's kind of come on the radar screen to me is a TAM 304. My understanding, I don't know a lot about the variety, is that it was developed more for irrigation, but it's been doing pretty well out here in the western half of the state for the past 2, maybe 3 years in the dryland test, TAM 304. And then another one, T153. There again, I don't know much about it, but it seems like it might have some potential down the road.
Well, Stacy, of course, with any part of farming, I think it's pretty much a roll of the dice, regardless of what area you're in. If you're a producer, grown wheat for years, and want to pick a variety, what do you use? What are your guidelines? How do you decide as a farmer? Well, this year, or in planning time, what's going to be the one to go with?
Okay, good. I mean, yeah, I'm glad we're talking about that, or coming back to that. Like we'd mentioned earlier, I wouldn't go out and chase the newest, greatest, latest thing. I mean, every year is different. So just because one variety popped up this year and it did real well, but you need to look at you need to look at 2 and 3 year averages if you can. So don't just go chase the newest trend, I guess, there. Having a good disease package, I think, is important. We seem to be having, it seems to be some years we sure get disease pressure from either stripe rust or leaf rust. So a variety with some good disease, a good disease package, and a variety that has above average yield performance over 2 or 3 years. You know, a lot of guys have told me, and I think they're right, they don't go out and try to necessarily pick the one that just looks like it's the highest yielding variety. They try to look at some consistency in their yields.
Let's switch topics for our final thoughts today with Ellis County Extension Agricultural Agent Stacy Campbell about the rural conditions. We've been through the hottest summer on record. Weather services are telling us temperatures, drought, we're over 6 inches below normal on rainfall for this time of the year. A tough, brutal summer by any stretch, Stacy.
Water, you know, is obviously a precious resource, our most limiting resource. I mean, we usually get the sunshiny days, we just need the water. And the livestock producers are sure struggling with that right now, having to haul water, and some of them using rural water that they don't normally use, or developing wells or turning windmills on that maybe they don't always use because there's not water in the creeks and ponds. So it's tough out there.
But all we can do is say it's got to get better.
Yeah, eventually it will. And guys, I think, are just having to hunker down and try to survive this summer.
Stacy Campbell, Ellis County Extension Agricultural Agent from the Extension offices, South Main and Hayes. Thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall, and thanks to you for joining us on Community Connection from Eagle Community Television.